And you didn't think we were going to stop there because it is the international weekend and we have to bring back our podcast with a bang, with Premier League talk. And as you normally do, we talk about Premier League quite a lot on our podcast. And obviously with our Serie A content, it's been great today. But we can't finish off without talking about the Premier League, one of the biggest games of the season with Manchester City versus Liverpool and the Friday night counter-attack derby, which we will talk about later on. And who better to get back on than someone we haven't had since match week 1? Saalim, my boy, I've missed you. You brought a smile to my face today. It's good to have you back, my friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, good man. I missed you on the podcast too. I can't lie. It's been such a long time. I'd say like the main thing is if you think about where Villa were when I started on this podcast to where Villa are
started from the bottom.
today.
Now we're here. Unai Emery's done it
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, we've been through it all, but yeah, we're sitting nicely in fifth. I just thought that's probably the first thing I'd want to bring out,
4
really.
points ahead of Man United so far. It's embarrassing for me, but it's exciting for you. It must be amazing to brag to all your Man United fans, except for me, of course, because obviously I never bragged about it to you in the first place. So it's all good.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll get to Aston Villa later on, which will be good fun because obviously there's a little derby within our Friday night counter attack group as well, which will be good fun. But we are going to start with the biggest and the baddest. Manchester City versus Liverpool. I mean, come on now, Salim. This has been the game of every season for the last 4 or 5 years in the Premier League. And after Man City's exciting 2-2 draw with Chelsea, let me hear your thoughts on Manchester City this season. Have they actually gone downhill compared to what we've seen because of the loss of Mahrez, Gundogan, Laporte as well? All these big players have left. And I just want to know, with the likes of Kovacic and Gvardiol and Nunez even, have they improved from what you've seen last season, Salim?
yeah. I mean, like it's a bit strange, Man City. Like Alvarez has come in, De Bruyne has been injured, but the sort of the main player that they do miss when he goes out is Rodri for me.
Exactly.
Um, And yeah, I'd definitely say like this game, I like the shape of Liverpool's midfield. I said from the start, Szoboszlai would be a great signing, and he looks like he is.
Sign of the
Um,
season so far, him and Declan Rice, in my opinion.
one up, yeah. And
Mm.
but definitely like normally this game would be like, proper title winner kind of game. Like whoever tends to win this game or wins it twice, let's say wins this and the reverse tends to sort of win the title. So, it's such a big game and it feels like it's come quite early on as well this season because you kind of have it a bit later and then you normally have one like right at the end of the season and it normally sort of determines who wins the title. So yeah, it's going to be a big one. I'm just surprised with the timing, really, with it being a Saturday morning, sorry, early kickoff. I thought it'd be like a late Saturday or potentially
Super
even a
Sunday,
Sunday.
4 o'clock. You normally expect it, right? I think it's because
Yeah,
European
yeah,
football's back, so they're probably just thinking about Champions League and Europa League. So one of those things, I would imagine. But yeah, definitely, I'm expecting a big game from Manchester City. But I want to know your point of view from Liverpool. You mentioned Szoboszlai. How's he been for you as one of the better players in this Liverpool midfield? And remember, from replacing Henderson and Milner and Oxlade-Chamberlain, all these players, Keita leaving, Jurgen Klopp's done a fantastic job, personally, because again, they're only in second position, a few points behind Manchester City. How well has Jurgen Klopp done? How do you think Dominic Szoboszlai has become their new catalyst in midfield for Liverpool, Salim?
yeah, 100%. Like the other day, I completely forgot. Like Fabinho left. I was playing FC 24, and
I
I
just
just
forgot. I just forgot just then as well. Oh my
yeah,
days.
and I was on FC 24, and I get like this untradeable pack, and I was like Fabinho, what the hell? Like I just clocked like, oh man, such a massive change Liverpool had, and I feel like their players. Like I feel like the refresh. I think Man City tend to do these refreshes better as they do them sort of more staggered.
Mm.
Whereas Liverpool kind of let the players come to like the end of the cycle and then they sort of made these investments. But no, I quite like the look of Liverpool. Even Darwin Núñez, his 2 goals against Newcastle, absolute quality as well. But I definitely think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'm expecting a big result for Manchester City. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Manchester City win. Expecting a big game by Mohamed Salah, of course, as well. And just before we move on to the next game, Salah, I want to kind of know from you. With Virgil van Dijk looking back to his best now at Liverpool, will this be the battle of the season between Erling Haaland and Virgil van Dijk? And obviously, I want to hear your thoughts on Virgil van Dijk and if he is back to his best from your point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see it. I think he is, back up there again. But I've not, he's one like everyone wants to see, two of the best at what they do. But I think there's a lot more in that City team, coming from like the other players like Alvarez and that, and it just depends how Liverpool as a defense, can sort of handle that entire City attack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. But yeah, Manchester City versus Liverpool, first game of the weekend. Second game of the weekend is a trip
Wait,
down
what's
to
your prediction though? You didn't.
3-1 Man City. Go for 3-1
What
Man
did you
City.
give it? I
Yeah.
must have missed it.
What's your prediction? You can't be sitting on the fence for all 10 games this weekend, Salim. So some you'll have
Yeah,
to get wrong.
everything 1-1. Should I say that? Nah,
0-0 every game. Super six. Let's put the bet on. I love this game.
you know what? Actually, I'm gonna go quite the thing on it. Actually, extravagant. I'll go 3-3.
Oh, I'm loving that. I'm expecting that now. So nicely done. Because again, you get better predictions than I do. I'm gonna have to start playing that Champions League game later this season of the prediction games as well. Next game to talk about is Burnley, who are in 20th place with 4 points. Vincent Kompany's doing an incredible job if he was a championship manager, but as a Premier League manager, he's doing an awful job so far as well. He's not playing a way that suits Burnley in the Premier League. He's playing a way that suits Burnley in the Championship, and they've not developed themselves properly. And they're up against the West Ham United. So David Moyes can actually go to school, can go to town on Vincent Kompany this week. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Jarrod Bowen is off to such a fine form this season. He's gone from strength to strength since he's moved to West Ham United. And I wanted to get your point of view as well. Is Jarrod Bowen going to be one of those players that you think, you know what, they've got to make it into the England squad for the Euros next summer, because you can't really drop him from the quality that he's got so far? So what do you think?
Well, yeah, he definitely deserves to be there, but it's Southgate tax, isn't it? So probably won't.
It's
But
true.
the one thing I would say is, like, since losing Rice, they signed Alvarez, and they've looked really different. They've looked a lot better, West Ham,
Mohamed
and they've
Kudus as
improved.
well. Looking
Kudus,
very good.
yeah, great player.
Mm.
So yeah, and Burnley, I do feel for them. Like, Company's got that style of play. I've seen a bit of that inside Burnley. I think it was called a documentary. It looked quite good, but
Mm.
he played some good football down in the Championship. Maybe he just needs. I think he still needs more time, and I feel like if anyone can get it right, it definitely is him. I wouldn't want to pull the trigger on him, and even if they do go down under him, and it's still early, but he still deserves a chance to bring them back up again. So yeah, I think maybe they could have invested a bit more in the squad.
In the right place as well. They've gone for players that haven't really been, I'm not going to use the term Premier League proven, but they haven't been proven at top level. So you're getting people from the Belgian league, and they're trying to do a Brighton when they don't have the actual foundations there to begin with, Burnley. So it goes to show that Vincent Kompany is kind of all out of his own now, to make sure he
Yeah.
can get this fixed before he becomes the first manager to be relegated. But yeah, nicely done there. I'm expecting a 2-0 West Ham win. I don't see anything but a West Ham win this weekend. What do you think, Salah?
Yeah, I'll go probably 1-0 West Ham.
Ooh, that is tight, even for you, Salim. 1-0. Luton versus Crystal Palace. We're going down south for this one as well. And just to go over it as well, I mean, Luton are somewhat a bit lucky at the moment because they're sixth. They've got 6 points. They got a really good point against Liverpool at home a couple of weeks ago. But because of Everton having their points deduction, they're out of the relegation zone, Salim. This is great news for Luton, but can they actually do it against a team like Crystal Palace? Roy Hodgson really experienced in what he does as well. Have you seen much from rather Luton or Crystal Palace that's impressed you this season? Eze's not really been at it himself. Elise's been injured in and out of the team. What's your thoughts on rather Luton or Crystal Palace? Choice is yours for this one.
Don't know, I can probably see like an upset. I can see Luton doing it, to be honest.
At home as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Probably go with them.
Nicely done. Nicely done. I'll go for an easy 2-0 away win for Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace will have enough firepower within their team to get it sorted, which will be good fun. I think this next game should be a televised game, but for some reason it's not. Newcastle United are playing at home to Chelsea on a 3 o'clock
Oh, is it
kickoff on a
not?
Saturday. It's not on TV. It's insane.
Oh, that's surprised, yeah.
Unless you're watching it abroad, but in the UK, it's not going to be a televised game. Newcastle United have had a topsy-turvy start to the season. They've had really good games going so far. Kieran Trippier tried to beef with a fan about having lots of injuries and losing to Bournemouth. Quite convincingly, they lost to them as well. Chelsea, I mean, Salim, Cole Palmer, let's talk about him. Let's talk about Raheem Sterling, how they actually turned up against Manchester City. And Chelsea seem to turn up in the bigger games this season as opposed to the games you should expect them to win, the Nottingham Forest ones and all of these. Is crazy. But first, we'll talk about Newcastle. What's your thoughts on the fact that ever since Alexander Isak's been injured, Callum Wilson hasn't been able to really recreate his form as of the last couple of seasons and is not really getting the goals that he needs to? Is there something to be worried about from a Newcastle United perspective for this game?
Yeah, in a sense, they've got a lot of injuries, and when Wilson was on the bench and kind of sharing game time with Isaac, it looked kind of like they mastered like having two good strikers at the club, and he was
Yeah.
coming on and scoring, and Newcastle definitely looked on for that sort of top six kind of finish again. They've got Champions League, and the thing is, like traveling away it is hard, but tactically as well, mentally on the players, playing against these big clubs, PSG, AC Milan, it is like really difficult, and you
Dortmund as
can
well.
compete. Yeah, and the thing is, it is harder, like going from like no European competition for such a long time and straight into Champions League. Whereas like a lot of teams, like Liverpool, for example, we've got Man United. They've been playing European football, pretty much consecutively, I'd say, for like 20 years or so. So like Man City when they first got into the Champions League, they were playing against teams that weren't even as good as them and still losing. They'd get knocked out easily. Like they were getting knocked out to like Monaco first, and was it Lyon as well? And
Yeah,
it just takes time, that know-how of being able to play in Europe. So in a sense, that's why like Villa getting Conference League over like Europa League is probably better in that sense for us. But yeah, on to Newcastle anyway. A lot of injuries. There's obviously talk about Ruben Neves and other players from Saudi League coming over, which could completely change their season around.
I agree. They could go for Milinkovic-Savic, they could go for Ruben Neves, even go for Koulibaly as a centre back, replace with Sven Botman. And the choice is there for a lot of teams who can have this opportunity to loan in, especially with the ruling going against loaning in as well. But let me hear your thoughts on Chelsea after overspending a lot this summer as well, buying a lot of new young players, replacing a lot of their older players as well, respectively. But I need to kind of ask you a bit more about, there's a player that's kind of curious to me, and I want to know your thoughts. Conor Gallagher for Chelsea. Where do you see his future lying going forward? Do you see him as more a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder? Because somewhat now, under Pochettino, he's playing as an advanced midfielder with Enzo and Caicedo holding it down in midfield. But I want to know your thoughts on Conor Gallagher so far this season. Where do you think his main position will be going forward, Salah?
I mean, he's been decent from what I've seen of him. He obviously looks quite box to box in that sense. So I probably wouldn't say like he's an attacking mid or like an all out defensive mid, but he's quite box to box. The stuff he did at Palace was quite amazing as well. And in a way, it's nice to see him getting a proper chance at Chelsea, not just a game here, a game there, like proper game time.
Definitely.
But Cole Palmer's the one that's really impressed me. When he left City, it's like the commentary that day was like, Man City's boy is Chelsea's man. I think it was something like that, and it sort of just hit home. I thought, I just didn't know what to expect from him. I thought like big move, bit of a risk as well, big money move,
I
and
thought they would have treated him like they took your old Aston Villa player
Chucky.
as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I think like the lad's definitely class, and I feel like he's made the right move, and that's probably one for like other players that are like good youth prospects, and he just shows what you could do when you get an opportunity to play. Like Lewis Hall's gone to Chelsea. Like there's probably like an argument out there for Phil Foden to potentially leave City. Because for me, Phil Foden should be starting every week, and he
He's
needs to
good
join
enough
a
to.
team. Yeah, he needs to play somewhere where he can start every week. So that sort of messaging is there, but I don't know. Cole Palmer has really impressed me. Not really seen much of him before, and not really, watched him much. And now, like, can't believe how good he actually is. And I'm actually happy for him that he starts every week for Chelsea, and he's such a key player for them now.
Yeah, he's getting his time to shine. And obviously he made his first call up to the England squad as well, which was great to see. And it goes to show that, again, we're not going to talk about Gareth Southgate because it's very frustrating to talk about, but it looks like he's going to try and make his way into that England side going forward and maybe even from the Euros next summer as well. But prediction for this one, I will go for you know what? I'll go for a 2-1 Newcastle win. I think Newcastle could win this one at home. The crowd on their side, having the backs against the wall. I think Newcastle fans will turn out for this one. What do you think, Salim?
I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm gonna go
2-2.
draw again.
Drawing again. Nicely
My
done.
predictions are never happening, but
There's
you never know.
they will sometimes just happen out of nowhere and you're like, oh, Salim was right
It's
about it,
that
which
four.
is
It's
crazy.
that 4-4. That 4-4 the other day was pure like Premier League Barclays heritage for me. So
It's just out
probably
of
just
nowhere.
leveraging off that.
It will never be the right one. That's why football, or was it Super Six, is never won by anyone because you can never guarantee what game will be what score, which is crazy. Next game, Nottingham Forest versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Two teams being managed by underrated managers, in my opinion. Steve Cooper's done a brilliant job with Nottingham Forest, and Roberto De Zerbi is also dealing with European football in another way as well because he had a slow start to European football this season in the Europa League, and he won against Ajax away, which was insane to see how Brighton and Hove Albion done as well. But Salim, my question to you is: when you're looking at a team like Brighton and Hove Albion, are you looking at them as an Aston Villa fan, thinking they're going to be challenging us for that 6th or 7th place going forward over the season, or are you thinking, you know what, they should be doing more than what they've got because of the players they've got? Ansu Fati being a big player coming in for Roberto De Zerbi. What's your thoughts, Alan?
I mean, I don't see them challenging us for 6 or 7. Probably challenging more Newcastle or Man United for that. But great team, and the stuff they've done. They lose key players, manager, personnel every season, and they just keep buying the right people again. And they've got a good system, good style of play, and it's nice to see this Brighton team evolve and go forward. Ansu Fati, massive signing for them on loan as well, but they've done well to get him over. He's just like what they can do next. Going into Europa League, and they've proved that they are like you know that they do fit in there as well. Like they're not sort of just punching above their weight. They went to Ajax, and they won. So it's going to be interesting to see where they can end up. And it's just one of them where like the table's so hard. Like the top 8, 9 teams are all so good, and they could all finish top 6, top 5. So yeah, I'm not too sure, but I definitely think they can get Europa League again. 6th would be really good. I mean, Europa League could be 6th and 7th this season, and
Yeah, because of the change of the Champions League format
yeah,
as well, which would be a big thing going forward. But yeah, more on Ansu Fati. I mean, he scored 2 goals in the Premier League so far this season. He's also being touted as a signing for Tottenham and for Liverpool from next season as well, because a lot of people have been impressed by how Ansu Fati has adapted to life in England and life in the Europa League for Brighton and Hove Albion. But it goes to show how deep a player's career can fall, because there was a time of speaking where Ansu Fati and Vinicius Junior were competing as one of the best new wonder kids in La Liga, and Vinicius Junior's career has gone up a level. Ansu Fati, with respect, has gone from Barcelona to Brighton. So it goes to show that sometimes a step back is needed in football, and maybe we can see the best of Ansu Fati going forward. I mean, Man United have already seen it because of their lackluster defending that we saw back in
I
September.
mean,
But
yeah, Ansu got the number 10 shirt from Messi. That tells you everything you need to know, really.
yeah, literally, he was just dealing with that pressure of being the next number 10, not the actual number 10. But yeah, loan watch is going well for Barcelona. We've seen Ansu Fati deal with it going forward as well. Next game, probably the most boring game of the weekend, but it may end up being 5-5 for the next one as well. By the way, my prediction is 1-0 Brighton against Nottingham Forest. What's your prediction?
Brighton 3-1.
Jeez, off the record, this is going to be insane. Yeah, Sheffield United versus Bournemouth. Going to go for a Bournemouth 1-0. I think Sheffield United are looking god awful this season. They're trying to play their Brexit brand of football, and it's not really working for Mr. Heckingbottom. And I'm not really confident in Sheffield United going into games anymore. You can't expect them to go for a 3-point or for even a point sometimes, because they're in the relegation zone. They're getting into scraps as well, which they shouldn't really be doing. But Bournemouth, I still think they would regret getting rid of Gary O'Neill to Wolverhampton Wanderers, because when you're looking at what Wolverhampton Wanderers are doing now, winning against Tottenham, challenging Man United to the last minute, beating Manchester City. Do you think Bournemouth made a big mistake in letting Gary O'Neill go, Salim?
Yeah, I still think they did. I thought, like he had enough goodwill in the bank and deserved more time. But in terms of the weekend game, it's just one of them where, like, look what Forest did to us. We won like all this form, and Forest had pretty much not much, and they beat us. So I think that this one's going to be a Sheffield United win. The crowd is going to be there behind them. I'm going to go 1-0 Sheffield United. It's going to be scrappy. There's not going to be many chances. I reckon the goal's going to come off either a penalty or a really bad defensive error.
VAR
And I,
issue,
and I
maybe.
think it's going to be, Cameron Archer, he can score goals. He just needs chances. He's proven that he can finish. I've seen some of the goals he scored as well this season, and I've seen him play for Villa. Coming through the ranks and stuff. So I definitely think they just get him supply. That's all he needs. He just needs to be able to supply. I feel like they just need to be a bit more creative and maybe attack a little bit more, and just create chances for him. And he'll bury anything in and around the box. He's been scoring from outside the box as well, so he's definitely clinical.
They're so indecisive, though, in attack, though, Sheffield United. They're so slow to get up to the final third, and it really annoys me when you're watching them from a neutral point of view. You're just like, just go for it, and they just don't. They just dilly-dally on the ball, and it really, really annoys me going forward with Sheffield United. But yeah, not really keen on that game. But we move to the Aston Villa derby. Unai Emery's old team versus Ollie Watkins' old team. Brentford versus Arsenal at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Do we sense an upset here, Salim? Do you think Brentford could do it against Arsenal once again? Lads, good kick. No, what was it he said? Good kick about with the boys. Ivan Toney,
Yeah,
2021.
that's the one.
Could that happen
But you know
again?
what? Yeah, you know what? Brentford haven't done that badly without Tony, to be fair.
Brian
Um,
Mbeumo's been killing it this season.
yeah, he has been actually. And Arsenal again, they're sort of up there again, going for the title again. But I don't know, it's a bit of a strange one. Kai Havertz again, he's not really like convinced me. He's somebody that I did rate before he joined Chelsea, and obviously he scored the winning goal and stuff. And
Mm.
I just feel like there's so much more to come from him. And it's just like a case of like when or if it's going to happen, and maybe he needs to move somewhere else. Maybe back to Germany or something. But more sort of on the game itself. Um, you know what? I'm going to go with like an Arsenal win, Arsenal 2-0. But it's one of them where Brentford really good side. They've got like a good system. Not, I mean, kind of like Brentford in that sense, but like that kind of model. But yeah, it's I still think Arsenal will have too much for them.
Yeah, I think Kai Havertz is definitely a liability for Arsenal, but even in going into this Brentford game, I'm looking at Gabriel Martinelli because the striking position is kind of rotated around now. Saka's just going to be first choice all the time, but kind of Saka, Arteta seems to be overplaying him, but Gabriel Martinelli is looking like the guy who's keeping out Leandro's Trossard, like genuine competition on that left-hand side. And I think he's going to take that form that he's got for Brazil after scoring against Colombia into the Premier League this season. I think he's going to be someone to really watch out for over this Christmas period because he can play as a striker and as a left winger going forward. And I'm expecting more from Martinelli. And I think he should really be challenging himself for 20 goals this season because I think he's got the quality about him to actually get ahead of himself and to actually challenge the establishment that we always see. The Salahs, the Sons, the Haalands,
Yeah.
these kind of players are getting 15, 20 goals, but Martinelli, I personally think he should be challenging them because I think he's got the quality and the chance creation is actually working for him going forward. I'm not a big fan of
Yeah,
how
I mean,
Havertz played left back though.
yeah, I mean, I quite like him, Martinelli. I think Unai Emery found him. I'm not 100% sure. I might have to double check that one. But
He went on
I,
trial to Gabriel Martinelli went on trial to Man United as a youngster, and Man United
okay,
didn't sign him, and then he ended up going to Arsenal, and he was one of Unai Emery's earlier signings as well. And then
yeah,
he got a lot of game time, but he never got ahead of the what was it? It was the Mkhitaryan, Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette front
Sanchez.
four.
Oh, was it Lacazette?
It was
Okay,
those kind of front four, and he never really got ahead of it. And then when Arteta came in, he then got rid of the established players and brought in Martinelli, which looks to be
okay.
good fun indeed. But yeah, I'm expecting an Arsenal win. I want an upset for Brentford, but Arsenal are joint points with Liverpool at the moment on 22nd, only third on goal difference. But it's going to be an exciting weekend at the top of the table. And it's going to be an even more exciting weekend because the Friday night counter-attack derby, or one of them, is happening this weekend. Spurs versus Aston Villa, Salim. There's no Travis, there's no Suki to talk about Spurs today. So the floor is yours, my friend. How good have Aston Villa been this season? How excited have you been watching them, especially after that embarrassing 6-1 defeat to Newcastle on the first weekend of the season? Did you think it could go even worse from there? Do you think it could have been something that Unai Emery couldn't fix? But actually, when you're looking at it now, he's done magnificently well with the players that he's got. Diaby, I still think he's got another level to go personally, but I'm expecting a lot more from Diaby. I'm expecting a lot more from your midfield, especially. But the fact that Ollie Watkins is on fire, both for England and for Aston Villa, that must bring so much joy to you, Salah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot in there, and it was 5-1 actually, and we were
Sorry,
quite
5-1.
unlucky
My
that day
apologies.
with everything that I'm messing with everything that happened. But if you think Unai Emery, we lost Buendia, one of our main players, like 2 days before the season starts to
Mm.
like an ACL. We lose Tyrone Mings in the first game of the season. Pau Torres was meant to be eased in, not really playing much at the start, and we've literally transformed. We're playing sort of a different sort of build up now as well. You might see us. We sort of set up as like a 4-4-2, but well, like with a box midfield. But when we sort of attack, Kamara drops in to make it a back three, and Cash pushes on, so it becomes a bit more of a three, a 3-5-2 kind of thing, or like a
Yeah,
3-4-1-2. With McGinn pushing up there as well, and McGinn's gone up a level. It's I just can't believe these are the same players, and how far we've come. And people are saying second season Emery and all this kind of stuff, but without four of our key starters from last season, and to think of how we've done. And I still feel like I agree. Ollie Watkins crazy form at the moment, but there's still like
six
another
goals
level.
and 5 assists. Yeah, 6 goals and five
I
assists
think
for
he's
Ollie
the
Watkins
only
this season.
player in the Prem to have 5 goals and 5 assists. But I still feel there's like another level for these players like Diaby. Leon Bailey's been terrific coming off the bench. Tielemans showed us what he can do. Douglas Luiz probably one of the best midfielders in the Prem at the moment.
Being touted as
Um,
an Arsenal signing as well, Douglas Luiz.
yeah, but he's staying. And the other thing is Konsa, unbelievable, goes under the radar. But what I was gonna say
Finally
was
got his
like,
England call up as well.
Yeah, and for Spurs, I kind of look at Spurs and I think their whole season fell apart in one game, that
Crazy.
Chelsea game. I still had big hopes for Spurs. At first, I didn't think they'd do that good, but when the manager came in and I was like, oh, you know what, Van der Ven looks quite good, and quite a lot of their players were performing. And I was like, you know what, these lot could
Madison was
actually do something.
outstanding in that game as well, in that
Yeah, I was
season.
like, you know
So
what, they could actually get at least Champions League, and if not, they could go for this title this year. And just one game and everything just falls apart. We did the double on them last season, and I really think we can go up there. I mean, go down there, and I think we can beat them 2-0. I really think we can. I know Spurs. There's that talk about Jermaine Defoe and that transfer.
oh, that's
And
crazy
with
though.
like docking
All in the
points.
same week. Chelsea, Man City, and Spurs could all be docked points and
But you know
relegated.
what? There was one thing I was just gonna sort of message for Suk and Trav, to be honest, both of them, and I really hope that they don't strip any titles since Defoe joined. That's probably
It's
the
true.
one
That'd be
that would
so
hurt
heartbreaking for all
more.
the Spurs fans. It'll go from 0 to 0. Be
I know,
insane.
what I mean, like it is hard, but yeah, no. Obviously, we can talk about that on like another episode. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. International break, as always, has been boring. Really looking forward to it. Since the fixture was in, I was like, this is going to be a big one. And I think if we win, we can sort of we'll be joint top. So that's what really frustrates me about the Forest game.
Yeah. It's all these ifs, buts, and maybes. But even with Spurs as well, like they had an amazing start to the season, but that's because they had all of their key players fit. Mickey van der Ven is out injured. James Maddison's out injured. Manor Solomon's out injured. Richarlison is out injured. I think Romero's still suspended at the moment as well. Destiny and Dogi is still injured as well. It goes to show that, well, Ange Postecoglou now has other challenges to deal with. And for them to be dealing with such great issues to begin with going forward, oh, yeah, we're running a lot, we're doing this, we're doing that. And just now under the first bit of pressure I've seen in his tenure at Tottenham Hotspur. And instead of him being the nice guy that you see in press conferences and post-match press conferences, this may be where Ange Postecoglou has to get into some of his plays, and that is actually doing a lot more work for him going forward. Because Unai Emery's Aston Villa, Sally, I know you'll love hearing this, but Unai Emery's Aston Villa are no joke. They're absolutely
But
no
see,
joke, and
the
they're
other
doing so
thing that I
well.
keep hearing, that annoys me actually, you can clip this, whatever. The thing that annoys me is I speak to people and they're like, oh yeah, Unai Emery is always good at the start, early manager bounce and
He's
stuff.
been there for 1 year, right? It's been
But
officially
he's
one
been
year.
there, we've got a decent enough sample size with it being 38 games, and I think he's accumulated about 76 points, which is an average of, pretty much 2 points a game, and that normally gets you top four. And if you look at since the start of January, considering he came in like November, but if you think from January, he only signed Alex Moreno then, and you got John Duran. Not, John Duran was like sort of one for the future, and Alex Moreno just another left back. Till then, till today, I feel like we're definitely in like the top four. We were like at least second for the amount of points accumulated in that time, and it's just crazy. Was it 13 consecutive home wins? Now I've lost count, to be honest. That's how many that has been. We've been
The
a bit
hard life.
unlucky. Yeah, we've been a bit unlucky away at times, but we will get it right. And when we get it right and we get players like Buendia, imagine we get last 15 games of the season and Buendia's back. Zaniolo still has a level to go up to. We've still got Mings, Ramsey, Moreno, and when we get all of them guys fit and firing, I definitely think we can get Champions League. We can definitely get top five. It's definitely achievable. We got seventh last year, and we did really well to achieve that. If we had if we had Unai Emery from the start of the season, who knows what we would have achieved.
I mean, it goes to show Steven Gerrard's managing now in Saudi Arabia. Emery's managing Emery in the top 5 of the Premier League at the moment. And you've still got January transfer window to come as well. So there could be more movement for Aston Villa coming up soon, which would be good fun.
Yeah.
My prediction again for this game will be Aston Villa 3, Tottenham Hotspur 1. And that's Tottenham playing at home as well. So Tottenham without, like I said, Richarlison, without Son, without Maddison, Van der Ven, it's going to be very, very difficult, especially with Eric Dyer and Emerson Royal out the back. What's your thoughts, Salim? Are you going to the game as well?
No, I'm not, unfortunately, but I
Damn.
definitely think 2-0. 2-0 Villa. Like
Clean
last
sheet as
season.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like last season, 2-0 will go. I feel like Ollie Watkins will score.
He's going to have a field day against the Spurs defence.
I feel like Ollie Watkins will score, and I'm trying to think who else. Ollie Watkins. I think Ollie Watkins and it'll be Douglas Luiz will be them too.
Douglas was
That's the two for
penalty,
me.
I reckon, which would be good fun indeed. My game now, Everton versus Man United. And Everton have been docked points after their dealings, their financial dealings, which is crazy because now there's nothing worse in football than going to Liverpool or Everton when their fans are riled up. They're against the Premier League. They're protesting. They're rioting. Everything. Nothing worse in the Premier League. And Man United have to deal with that because we're coming back off the international break, and there's talks of Onana being injured. There's talks of Rashford being injured from international break as well. There's talks of Luke Shaw coming back into the side and Rasmus Højlund also coming back into the side. I want to know your thoughts, Salim, mostly on Everton, and then we'll obviously go into Manchester United. But first of all, just your thoughts on the reaction to Everton being docked points, and now you're seeing them in the relegation zone at 19th place as well. Can Sean Dyche bring them back, or is this just another day in the office for Sean Dyche and for Everton Football Club?
Yeah, I mean, a bit mixed, like you could say it's come at a good time for them. Like if it came last season, they would probably, well, they definitely would have been relegated. So they are kind of lucky in that sense. And they've actually accumulated quite a lot of points because the worst thing is to be in sort of minus points on like 0 points. So I'd say like they are quite obviously a bit lucky in that sense, but unlucky with all the point deductions and stuff. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a Liverpool win this one.
You mean Everton?
Sorry,
Everton at
I
home.
was thinking of the Merseyside derby for some reason. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be an Everton win this one.
Okay, nicely done. With Man United, realistically speaking, if we don't have Rasmus Højlund starting, I don't see us winning. Realistically speaking, we have no attack without Højlund and Rashford because even though we've only scored 1 goal between them all, it's been quite embarrassing to see how our attack are relying upon our defense to score and defend the game. There are talks of Rafael Varane leaving at the end of the season, but I'm not going to get into that. There are talks of Casemiro leaving as well. But realistically speaking, Man United have to band together because there's talks of Sir Jim Radcliffe completing the 25% changeover deal, takeover deal, whatever you want to call it, by the end of the month as well. So it's going to be quite comfortable to see how it goes. My player to watch for Man United this week, Salim, is going to have to go for Scott McTominay. Do you think Scott McTominay can rebuild his form going forward with Man United? Because he's doing absolutely amazing for Scotland. And where do you see him fitting into this future for Man United? Do you think he's going to stay for another season or two after actually wanting to leave this summer? What do you think?
Yeah, sorry. So like Højlund's something I rate quite highly actually. But Scott McTom, I've been saying from the start of the season he needs to play. He's got those legs and he definitely needs to play. He needs to start, and he's been good coming on, and he's actually been good while starting. But I feel like at the end of the season he'll probably be gone. But yeah, I'll still go for like an Everton 1-0 though. That's it for me on that.
I think if anything, it's going to be a 1-0 Man United. I think we're going to scrape this win. We've been scraping wins, and Man United have been one of the most informed teams in the Premier League, but they've been playing teams that we should be beating. But we're never in that stage anymore as Man United fans. We never get to just beat teams we are expected to beat. But I expect to win against Everton. I expect us going into the Champions League week with our confidence high and with goal scorers in this team as well. But yeah, hopefully Man United win and we see Tottenham lose and Man United get into that top 4, which will be good fun indeed. Before we wrap up, Salim, final game of the weekend, Fulham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I need to talk to you about how Wolves are slyly looking like one of the most impressive teams in the Premier League. Hwang's looking fantastic. Pedro Neto's looking great. Then defender Totti is looking fantastic. Let's hear your thoughts on Wolves versus Fulham, Salim.
Yeah, Wolves have been good actually. Like the win at the other day against Spurs, great character they showed,
Iconic
and
scenes. 2 last-minute
iconic.
winners at the Molineux. Insane scenes.
Even against us, they were quite good, and I can't even believe where's like Lamina come out from. I swear he was. I remember him being at Southampton, then trying to get a move to Man United or something, putting
He
like
moved. Yeah, he moved elsewhere.
his own comp, and then he went abroad, and then he's back. But
Looking better
like
than ever.
I do feel for Wolves in a sense that I know like the investment's gone and stuff, but Adama Traore, man, back at Fulham, like
Raul
pure one
Jimenez
man.
as well.
Yeah, pure one man plan B. But yeah, it's good. I feel like this has the potential to be quite an interesting one. But I'm gonna go 2-1 Fulham actually.
Jeez, Fulham at home as well. Harry Wilson coming in. I think Harry Wilson's had a decent start to the season so far. Willian's still looking like his old self, which is great to see.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a Wolves win. 3-1 win for Wolves. Hwang scoring, Pedro Neto scoring. Expecting a lot from Wolves getting into this top half of the season. Getting into the top half of the table over the next part of the season as well, which is great. And what's also been great is having this part 2 with Salim back again after match week 1 of the season when you were last on. When are you joining us next, Alan? We need you back on for our Premier League previews. When's it happening
Yeah,
next?
no, I need to be on regularly, so bear with me and yeah, defo like I need to keep coming on every week, man. I honestly I miss talking about Villa. I'm pretty much just talking to myself about it because I've probably annoyed everyone else, just going on about how good we are.
I need to clip up that Ollie Watkins thing so the world can see how much you're talking about Aston Villa, which would be great to see. But yeah, another great week of the Premier League coming up. Everyone, thank you very much for listening to part 1 with our special guests, Matt and Luca, and part 2 with Salim and I talk about the Premier League. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football this weekend. Take care, and we will see you later. Salim, thanks as always, my friend. Good to see you.
No worries, thank you.